Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today we are back with another installment of my Destash series, this time going through all of the yellows in my collection. Yellow unfortunately is one of the more unpopular colors when it comes to nail polishes, so we don't really see that many released, as you're gonna see in a minute. But that being said, I still love a good yellow, so I hope you enjoy me gushing over these, even though again, I didn't have as many polishes. This video is still very long, but I will talk even more at the end. So for now, let's go through all of my yellows. Okay, so you may have noticed my background is different. I'm using a darker blanket because I feel like it'll just provide some more contrast, since the majority of my yellows, at least I think, are on the lighter side. So we're testing it out for this video, see if it's a little bit better than my robe, which maybe washes out some of the color, but we'll figure it out. So yeah, for now, let's start with the time lapse. Okay, so these are all of my yellows in my collection, and I am kind of surprised to see how few I have. I think as a refresher, I had about 4 rows of like red polishes, along with like some that I couldn't even fit in frame. Then for the oranges, I think it was like 4 rows exactly that all fit in frame. But I'm almost like surprised. Even though there's so many here, it just feels like not that much, you know what I mean? So let's start by grouping these together. I think I'm gonna do like the super light kind of, white-based yellow pastels, and then the sunshine yellows. I did end up pulling out a couple of like metallics and golds. Technically, the only golds that I am missing from here are sort of like my toppers, but that's because I want to save my toppers for a separate video, just because I have like a whole drawer of them, and those are the only ones that, I kind of organize or categorize by finish as opposed to color. So yeah, let's get these in their little respective piles. Okay, so that was easy enough. I have my super light, more like pastel kind of yellows. Well, for the most part. This is Cirque's Hedonist, which is a neon yellow, but I don't know, I feel like color-wise, it just looks like it fits better with these shades, so I'm just gonna keep them there. And these are more of like my brighter summery yellows, ones that maybe have like a little bit more orange. These here are my autumnal yellows, and then my kind of gold glitter type of polishes. So the smallest group that I have is my autumnal yellows. So let's start with those. Let me move these out of the way. So yeah, I have a couple of the same brands here, and then a couple of one-offs, and I just know that I love these. I would say my top immediate keep is Zoya's Honey. This is the one that I like always recommend to people, because when it comes to yellows in the fall, I know mustard is like, the popular color, but I was always super picky about them, and honey is just so much warmer, I feel, or just more flattering in general, at least, to me. So this is just my top pick, tried and true, that's not going anywhere. Another, speaking of mustard, this one has a little bit of ugly bottle syndrome, but it is so pretty. Sadly, I don't think this has been around for a while, but this is Dimension Nails Mustard Bird, which I would kind of consider like a pastel mustard, and it was one of the, like, if not the first shade that made me actually like mustard as like a nail polish color, because it was so light and like pastel, you know? So yeah, even though it looks a little rough, this is another one that I really like. I think it's so flattering, so I have to keep that. I feel like, you know, it is kind of similar to Monarch from LA Colors. I mean, from what I remember, this is more of like a crelly formula, so you know, it's not going to compare to how amazing the cream formulas are from Dimension Nails. I do think this is like a little bit brighter, like maybe an in-between of these. So I was gonna say like maybe I should swatch it to, you know, just like try it out, but honestly, I'm sure like I don't want to knock LA Colors, right? Because they are amazing for the price point. They definitely have some really great polishes, but I already kind of have, you know, my tried and true yellows for fall, so I would rather just put this in my destash pile and let somebody else, you know, enjoy it. And the two Cirque polishes here, I have Mustard Jelly and Urbanized. I definitely prefer Mustard Jelly. I would rather keep it because it's a jelly. It definitely looks pretty warm and orangey. Let me see if I can actually, yeah, here we go. Here it is next to Cracked Polishes I Am What I Am, which I shared in my last video going over my oranges. So you can, you know, see for reference, it definitely is like mustard and yellowy. So even though I don't really reach for this super often, I still would rather keep this one. I honestly would rather Destash Urbanized. I feel like this is another cult classic that I think honestly Cirque may have discontinued. Again, I know I've mentioned it before. I don't know where like the list is of the retired shades from Cirque, but I'm pretty sure I saw this with like some other, you know, really popular shades be retired. And I was just surprised to see that because this one has been around for such a long time. And yeah, it's just kind of that shade of mustard that I don't love on me, but I did like it for like nail art purposes. But again, I would rather just go for something a little bit lighter like Dimension Nails Mustard Bird, or just something brighter and warmer like Honey. So that can also go in my destash pile. And lastly, I have Cracked Polishes Gilded Edges and Crop Dusted. These are the more like shimmery yellows from Cracked, and they are so pretty. I can't choose between them. I mean, they are different enough. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but I'm pretty sure Gilded Edges is like a little bit sheer, while this is like, you know, more of a buildable, like it becomes opaque in two coats. I think with this one you still see a little bit of nail line, but I do just love these shades so much. If anything, I wonder if Gilded Edges is like a little bit, no. If it was going to be a little bit more similar to Mooncat's Demeter's Harvest, which honestly, like this one, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but this one is kind of on the chopping block for me. I want to love Demeter's Harvest so bad, but there's something about it that I don't fully love. I think it's the shimmer because it's kind of like green. It's been a while since I wore this, so it's hard to really remember how I felt about it, because it's like, I love how like bright it is, you know, like I love a shimmery yellow, and I'm pretty sure this was also voted Mooncat's ugliest color or something. I don't agree with that, right? Like, I mean, I think this is pretty, but I think it's just, again, one of those shades that I don't love it on me. I so badly want to keep it just because it's like a shimmery, beautiful yellow from Mooncat, you know? So since I have so few, I might as well keep it for now, but like if I had to choose, you know, between these two, I would go with Gilded Edges. But it's hard because I love this like shade of yellow where it's like, you know, just that brighter, like less orange. It's like more of a true yellow. I think that just works better for like spring and summer, you know? So we'll keep it for now. I will like maybe, you know, give it another chance and go from there. But yeah, these are the ones that I'm keeping. As well go through my gold polishes just to get these out of the way. And these are gonna be tough. My tried and true gold, which you might be able to tell from like the fill line being down here, is Sally Hansen's Golden Eye. I have had this in my collection for so long. I mean, if you can't tell how how old it is, I'm pretty sure this is like the old label and stuff, right? I don't know if they make this anymore, but I adore this shade of gold where it's just like so pale compared to something like Static Nails 24K that is so much, you know, more yellow, right? I definitely prefer this shade, but I do also really like the Static Nails as just like, you know, like a gold. No, I definitely want to keep this one. I mean, I would not destash it when it's like this, you know, full or whatever. They're kind of gold metallics that I have here are Coco New York's Pop Bottles and this Maybelline one called Bold Gold. These two are more of those like liquid metallic kind of finishes, and they both look like very, very similar. So I don't know why I have both of these. I feel like they are basically dupes, and yeah, I don't need both. I guess I would keep the Maybelline just because I'm pretty sure it's like a little bit smaller. Yeah, it's like almost half the size, and I just don't wear these that often, but I love golds like this for nail art specifically. You know, it's just been a while, right, since I've done that and needed them, but yeah, at least now I know I can get rid of one of them. Then another tried and true from here is Mooncat's I'm a Mother effin' Supernova. This is like the gold glitter bomb. It is just so, so pretty. Again, because it's a little bit like lighter in color than Holo Taco's gold play button, right? So, you know, technically I don't need both. Between these, I do prefer the color of Mooncat's, but there's something like so iconic about this being called gold play button. Not that I'm like manifesting that for myself, because I cannot imagine having that many subscribers. It makes me want to throw up. So I will not think about that. But I don't know, like I just love that, right? Like it's such a perfect, such a perfect name for a gold glitter. I kind of want to keep both. And you know what? I think I will, because it's like I already don't have that many, and these are different enough, I think, that they're worth keeping, right? I may have said before, like maybe when I first picked this up and, you know, I did the comparisons, that the Mooncat is like a close enough shade, and like it is, right? I mean, it's a gold hollow glitter, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep both of those for now. These last four are more of these like, I don't know, foily metallic maybe? I don't know if that's the right description, but one of my favorite ones is this itty bitty bottle of Cirque's 24K Affair. I just love, again, this color. It's kind of like that in between of something that's like super intense and yellowy. I mean, I guess maybe it is like a little closer to that than a more pale gold, but I still just find it so flattering. So I want to keep that. The Morgan Taylor, this is Cuddle Me Tight. I liked how this looked when I swatched it, but now I'm like, but do I really need it, right? Because again, the main reason I have so many golds is more for like nail art, or if I'm doing, you know, glitter gradients for like holidays. I always end up, you know, going back and reaching for the same shades. So it's a shame, because I do think this is a pretty color. Maybe more fair to compare it to like these because of that smoother finish, and this is definitely warmer than the Maybelline. So we'll keep it for now, but that might be another one that I revisit in the future if I decide, okay, I'm not really reaching for it, it's just taking up space in my collection. And lastly, with these, the Static Nails I mentioned before, and then AU from Starly, oh man, this is tough. I mean, I would say it's more fair to have it be between these two because AU has like a little bit of a different, like a larger kind of fleck, you know? But honestly, I think I prefer like the smaller, smoother sort of finish in Starly. I feel like these two are a little bit closer in color, and then maybe this is closer in finish? No, because I feel like Cirque is also kind of speckly. So, okay, as much as I love Static Nails and they have some, you know, great shades, I think this is gonna be one that I destash. I think I definitely would rather keep these other golds than this one. Not that it's, you know, bad by any means, but yeah, I feel like I just always end up reaching for like these shades, and I have to like really make an effort to be like, oh, well, you know, I haven't used Static Nails in a while, let me use that one. You know, I'm just like a creature of habit, so I'm like, let me just use the ones that I know that I love, right? So these are my final golds. We can go through the brighter kind of primary yellows or like the summery yellows, because I think I have a few less of those than the pastel yellows, which makes sense. So, I mean, honestly, this one can kind of even fit in there, but this is Island Peas Fun Shine Smoothie. I had picked this up last summer. It was one of those shades, you know, on my wish list where I wanted a bright yellow hollow because I had the one from Holo Taco. I'm blanking out on the name, but that was just like a little too dingy, you know, for my preference. I wanted something a little bit like lighter and brighter. So I do like this one more than the Holo Taco one, which, you know, I don't even have here. I feel like it's still one of those shades that I'm like, is it exactly what I wanted? You know, like I think it's still a little dingy, which, you know, maybe because of the hollow finish, maybe it just doesn't play nice with this like light shade of yellow, but I do want to hold on to it and give it another chance because I definitely would love to keep it, especially for like nail art purposes when I'm using like, you know, other hollows and stuff. Like it would just be so satisfying to have like a complete rainbow, you know? So yeah, I will keep that one for now. I honestly don't know if I am gonna get rid of other shades. I mean, the ones that I said were on the chopping block, well, the only one I mentioned in this video so far was Mooncats Demeter's Harvest, but you may remember me also not loving Cirque Colors Shaka, which is the yellow jelly from their, I think like Surfer's Crush collection. It's that finish that I love from Cirque, and I was like excited to see a yellow, but I just didn't love this on me. Granted, I'm pretty sure when I did that review, my nails were like a lot longer, so I had like way more visible nail line. And when it comes to yellow jellies, they can so easily fall into that like super stained, like smoker's nail kind of look. And you know, that's not exactly what I'm going for. Obviously, I know there's nothing wrong with stained nails. It happens with, you know, how often we are painting our nails. But, you know, sometimes when I like doing nail art, it's usually over like a negative space, you know, background. And so I would rather not have any like yellowing, even though I did keep this for the past like year or so, saying like, oh yeah, like I'll give it another shot. I never went back to actually try it. I think even though I love a red shimmer, there's something about like the combination of the red shimmer with this yellow base that is just not really for me. And that is okay. Like between these, when it comes to light shimmery yellows, I do prefer Mooncats, even though again, I'm not the biggest fan of the green in here. I just like it more than the red. So yeah, I will destash the Cirque, keep the Mooncat, and then I might as well talk about this one because then the rest of these are all creams. So this is Holo Taco's Sunshine Crush from the Rock Candy collection last summer. I don't think I took this out in my last video for my oranges, even though when I swatched it, I was like, this is kind of orange. Like, at least on me, it just reads like, you know, a very like, maybe like a goldenrod kind of shade, but it is like very warm and just flirting with being orange. I didn't love this polish when it initially came out, but you might remember if you watched like, my birth month series, I think it was for the month of November, that I picked this polish out to represent chrysanthemums because I thought they were just like, it was like the perfect shade match. So I do like this more as a fall kind of shade. So I guess I shouldn't have put it here. It was just automatic because it was in my summer drawer with like the rest of the rock candy shades. But yeah, this is another one where I'm just like, I don't think I love the combination of this reddish shimmer with a yellowy base, but because this one's more orangey, it works a little bit better. I can't really explain it, but I will keep it. Okay, and then for this last row here, I actually lied because I don't have just creams here. I do have a jelly, and I'm actually, oh my God. I know this has happened not in my oranges video, but in, I think, my reds video, that there were a few reds that I forgot to include because they were just like so dark that they didn't look red when I was going through my collection. Like Mexican cola jelly from Cirque or bonbon jelly. I am gonna be keeping those, right? But this reminded me I forgot to take out piña jelly. So the jellies that I have are piña and mango. I know that these two are like basically identical. If I had to choose for the name alone, I would choose mango, but I can't I can't split up the Jarritos collection. I love it so much, which I know is such a almost like controversial thing to say, right? Because you already know, I don't have to explain myself again, how I feel about Cirque, the photoshopping, all that kind of stuff, on me and how I perceive the colors on myself. I could see a little bit of a difference. Is it enough to like, really keep both? No, but I want to. It's like one of the few collections that I have like the whole, little packaging thing still intact off to the side of my desk because I just love it that much. So yeah, as silly as that may seem, as embarrassing as that might be to admit, I unfortunately am going to be keeping both. So yeah, we can move mango down here. The other Cirque that I have is Nirvana, which is the cream. This one is kind of like your typical like sunshine yellow cream. My go-to before I had Nirvana in my collection was Arosa's Star, which this brand is not around anymore, but I love them. I used to love them so much. I mean, they just had like really nice formulas. They were always like super pigmented, so they were just perfect creams for nail art. And even though this does look so much darker and warmer, I still found it to be just like such a bright kind of sunshiny yellow. But I guess maybe it's more of like a sunflower yellow, and then this is more of like that true primary yellow color. I definitely do still want to keep Star. I think maybe the closer yellow is this one from Color Department. This is from the Jamba Juice collab called Mango A Go-Go. I have to keep this one because it's mango colored, it's named after it, like, I have to. So from what I remember, actually maybe Nirvana didn't have a great formula. I mean, I'm pretty sure this one has the skinny brush in it. So that is gonna be a nightmare to work with. I know I have complained about the Color Department brushes not being my favorite, but I think it's definitely way more workable than the Cirque one. So I would rather keep the Color Department and say goodbye to Cirque's Nirvana. I think the colors are close enough, right? I think, speaking of these like darker kind of yellows, I feel like, okay, wait, hold on. Let me talk about this one because I feel like this is the outlier. This is Bluebird lacquer now, but before they were called Lou It Yourself. And this is called Not Quite There. It was from this sort of like rainbow collection that I think was called the In-Betweons, where they were neons. It was like, the first collection were these rainbow neon shades or something, and then she released a part 2 of these like in-between shades of the original neons, so they were called the In-Betweons. This one, as you can probably tell from, when it was like first laying there, it kind of has more of that like crelly formula, which like I don't love, but I think it is like, you know, different enough than mango jelly. It's like a bit brighter and lighter. I don't know why it's been so long since I've reached for this. Maybe the formula just like wasn't that great because, you know, Cirque's jelly formulas, especially with like the paddle brushes, they are just elite. And this one being like much older, maybe it just doesn't like self-level as well, but I do still want to keep this actually. I kind of want to like give it another chance because again, I still have some of the other shades from that collection. I think this may have been the first collection where I tried like water marbling. So it was just, I don't know, it's like nostalgic, you know, like it's such an old shade. I just don't want to let go of it yet. So I'm gonna hold on to that. And then these last three creams. So as I mentioned, definitely want to keep Star, but then these other shades, I mean, this Glisten and Glow, it honestly looks so like peachy and orange, but this was the yellow from like a Dr. Seuss collection that's called Great Balancing Act. It's kind of like that peachy, like, oh my god, look at how gunky that is. It's almost like that pastel or like a bleached neon mac and cheese shade. I remember loving this so much. I honestly kind of want to keep this, but I might have to cross-reference some of the lighter peachy oranges from my last video to make sure it's like not a dupe or anything, you know, but I do think it is a super cute color, so I do want to keep that too. And so that leaves us with the Nailtopia. It's called Glow Up, and oh man, I really love this too. Like how, I don't even need to swatch it because I'm like, even though the Nailtopia shade is fantastic, the formulas also generally are amazing. I feel like these two are like close enough that I could consider them dupes. And like I mentioned, I always reach for Star, so I will set Nailtopia aside for my destash pile. And lastly, already, we have my more pastel kind of yellows. I definitely love a good pastel yellow. I know they can be difficult to work with, but I think a lot of the brands have come such a long way where like when you think of a pastel yellow from like years ago, you know, like 5+ years ago, it's awful. Like it needs 3, probably even 4 coats to look good, but I'm gonna say that like all of these are fantastic formulas. I actually need them all. That's the harder question, right? I think, okay, let me move these to the bottom because these are jellies and these are technically creams too, but I feel like these, okay, there's kind of a little like color divide, right? So these are almost like the more white-based, maybe with like a drop of green kind of yellows. And then these are a little bit warmer, I want to say, like more of those like almost buttercream kind of colors. And this one is Holo Taco's Butter Me Up. I feel like seeing this next to all of these, it looks like an ivory. It looks like a cream, like it looks like there's no yellow in it. But I actually do like this one, so I want to keep it. But I'm pretty sure when I did like, you know, the original comparisons for this, I showed it next to a couple of like very light nudes and neutrals, and like you can tell that it's yellow, so you know, I'm gonna keep that one. These 3 are probably the hardest to choose between, and I feel like I can't choose because I adore them. We'll say of these 3, which by the way, this is Static Nails on the bright side. Then we have Olive's Sunshine, which just recently came back after, I don't even know how long, but it was pulled out of retirement for the spring release a couple of weeks ago. And this is Cracked Polish's Banana Powder from last year's spring collection. Of these 3, these 2 are like near dupes, like almost exactly the same, where if you have one, you definitely do not need the other one. Save your money, get a purple or something, like a shimmer or whatever, you know what I mean? I personally, as much as I love a cute little pastel yellow, I don't think you need both in your collection, but I also at the same time cannot get rid of one. I'll say the static nails compared to these two is a little bit warmer, and I love that so much. Like, I don't want to say this is my favorite because I love these shades in general. Like, I think I do prefer the more warmer, like almost buttercream kind of colors compared to like these that are a little bit more white based with like that drop of green. There is something especially satisfying about this one being a little bit warmer, so this is another easy keep for me. When it comes to these here, I mean, honestly, this one, the Cirque, I debated even including in this video because I'm like, isn't this technically green? This is trompe l'oeil, which is French for fool the eye. It's like this cool art style where you paint like photorealism and it looks like it's a photo basically. I remember learning about that in high school and having to do like a painting for that, and I really enjoyed it. So very fun. But the color, even though like it's cute and I know a lot of people love it, it really is yellow because it just looks like it blends in so much more with these shades. Maybe it's the closest to Mooncat's Eternal Sunshine, but yeah, between these, I definitely do like the Mooncat one more. So I will destash the Cirque. And then from these two, this is Holo Taco's Banana Medicine and Color Department's Gone Bananas. I prefer the Holo Taco. I feel like there's something about the tone of this one. It might just be like how it looks on the bottle, because I feel like when I swatched it, it's not that I hated it, because otherwise why would I keep it, right? But yeah, seeing it in the bottle just like looks a little bit more dingy. I do love that Holo Taco's Banana Medicine, like even though it's like a pastel yellow, it's so much more vibrant. The cracked, the olive ave, those are more like white base, like your typical pastel yellows. But Banana Medicine just gives you a nicer like pop of yellow color. So if you don't want one that's too white, maybe this is a better option. But even though, you know, again, I like Color Department, this is one that doesn't spark joy. So I will set that aside. And these last few are like my, well, actually no, this is a cream. I'm gonna say these last three are my jellies, but I do have one cream here, and this is Cirque's Hedonist, which is from a previous Vice collection. So it is their Neon Yellow. Here it is next to Nirvana, so you can see the difference. But yeah, this is like such an intense intense shade of yellow that I don't think has faded. It still looks obnoxiously bright, so I kind of want to hold on to that. I definitely do prefer Hedonist over something else like your typical neon yellow or like highlighter yellow like Electric Daisy, which we will talk about in the next video. But yeah, I know not a lot of people love Hedonist, but I do. I really do. So I'm gonna keep it for now. And finally, when it comes to my yellow jellies, I'm not getting rid of any of them. Are you surprised? Because I hope you're not. These are so pretty. They are so pretty, and I appreciate how pretty and flattering and like more wearable they are, where, you know, I mentioned it before when talking about like yellow jellies giving your nails a really stained, unflattering look, but these, I feel like the colors just work so much better. So we'll start with Citron Jelly, which is from one of their glazed collections for, you know, the summer months. This one is just so cute. It's just like a primary yellow kind of jelly. It doesn't have that like amber color that, like, you know, rust jelly or mustard jelly would have, rather, because this one is like more white based. I just think it's like so much more flattering, so I have to keep that. And these two, this is Dimension Nails Banana Hemp Milk and Cirque Colors Go Away, which was from the MXM Tune collection. These two are very, very similar. Technically, I could get rid of the Dimension nails because I could layer on one coat of linen, which is their sheer white, over Go Away, and it's basically the same color. But chances are I'm just not gonna do that for whatever reason, even though it's like it works out to being the same number of coats, right? Like if I do 2 coats of the Dimension nails and then 1 coat of Go Away and then 1 coat of linen, that's still 2 coats. I don't know. There's something like I just want to keep both of them. If I had to choose between these two, I would choose Go Away because it's again a little bit like warmer of a yellow, but I feel like I shouldn't have to choose between them, you know? Why put two queens against each other, right? So yeah, now we can get the polishes, the yellow polishes that I'm keeping. Okay, so here are all of the yellows that I am going to be keeping in my collection. So the top row are the more like pastel spring type of yellows. Then this half of the middle row are like the brighter, more summery yellows. Then these few over here are like the slightly deeper, more autumnal yellows. And the bottom row are my kind of gold glitters and metallics. I feel like at first glance, there are still a lot of shades that look very similar, right? Where it's like, should I be keeping both of them? You know, namely shades like Olive Sunshine and Crack's Banana Powder. Honestly, maybe even Mooncat's Eternal Sunshine. Like, these are all very, very similar. I mean, like I said before, these two are basically dupes. I think the Mooncat, though, is just like a little bit less warm. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that it's just a little less warm than these two shades here. And you know, technically, it would be my least favorite. Like, I do lean more towards like a warmer kind of pastel yellow. And since I'm already gonna be keeping a couple of them, I don't know, maybe I don't need this Mooncat one anymore. After thinking about it, I feel like it is my least favorite out of the few pastel yellows that I have here. So, you know, we'll set that aside. It hurts because, you know, I love Mooncat. I love like that collection in general, but realistically, I already have a decent amount of pastel yellows. And technically the only other one that like maybe doesn't belong here is the Glisten and Glow because it is just so incredibly peachy that it probably should have been with my oranges. So you know what? Yeah, I will set that aside because it is kind of like frustrating that I have an orange in here. Now, for real, these are the final yellows that I will be keeping in my collection. At least, you know, as of right now, right? Maybe something will change down the line, but I feel like these are just some of my favorite like tried and true shades, the ones that I always reach for. Overall, I am just really happy with these. So now let me show you the ones that I will be destashing. Here's my little itty bitty destash pile of my yellows. So we obviously have these, you know, lighter kind of pastel yellows that are either a little too white based or there's like a drop of green in there that I would rather not have. These two are the more sunshine bright summery yellows that are basically like dupes in my collection. These two are the more autumnal, like mustard sort of yellows. And lastly, the two metallic. There's not really much else that I can think to like say about these. I mean, it's been a while since, you know, I've like swatched them, worn them, so I can't speak on the formulas exactly. If anything, I would assume like the LA Colors is like the worst one. So don't get me wrong, these are pretty polishes in their own way, just, you know, my least favorites from the ones in my collection. So that wraps up going through all of the yellows in my collection. As always, I can't wait to hear what you think of the shades that I had. Let me know what your favorite yellows are, if you even like wearing yellow polish, because like I said in the intro, it unfortunately is just not a popular color, and so we don't see it released as often as other shades. I wonder if it's like because of the color or because of yellows being notoriously difficult when it comes to their formulas. At least years ago, like when I first got into nail polish, you know, 10 plus years ago, yellows just always had really thin, streaky formulas. But like I mentioned with so many of my favorites, I feel like a lot of brands have just come a long way when it comes to how buttery smooth the yellow formulas are. Sometimes they might still need a third coat, but they look so much better on 2 coats than they did like years ago, you know? So I'd love to know if you like yellow, what you gravitate more towards, like pastels, the sunshine ones, or the darker shades for like autumn. I know I've seen comments before about using these videos for like wish listing purposes, so I think that's so fun. Let me know if you've added any of these yellows to your wish list. And when it comes to destashing, if you didn't see it in my last video in this series, I have not yet listed any of the polishes I've taken out so far. So any of my reds, oranges, yellows, obviously, they are not listed anywhere. I was hoping to list them sooner, but I am going to be a little bit busy the next couple of weekends, and it's already going to be a lot to do. Obviously, I am just one person, and Ryan has graciously offered to help me when it comes to the destash process because it is a lot. I thought it was going to be easier to like wait a little bit, like accumulate, you know, a good amount of shades to list at once, because since this is a monthly series, I didn't really want to do like, okay, here's my red destash video, and now here are all the reds that you can shop, and do that every month, because then like I'm basically adding to that problem that I complain about with brands where it's like they're releasing things every month. I know it's not like the same, but I don't know. I just didn't want to do that. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can just wait a little while and then list them in like, you know, the color groups, right? So I'm going to do reds, oranges, and yellows, and then the same for the other colors. The problem with that is that there are just now a lot more polishes to like list and go through and sort and all of that. So it is gonna, you know, take me a little while, but I do also want to like get rid of them. And as far as like, you know, my destashing, I only have one destash page, which is my Instagram account that will be linked in the description box. I'm so sorry to anybody who does not use Instagram, because I know there are other platforms, like I've mentioned them in previous videos as well, like you can destash through Facebook and Reddit, even on apps like Mercari, which I was on for a while, but I don't want to sell on there anymore because Mercari has just introduced like so many fees and stuff. It's just so much more affordable to like say, oh, do you want this polish and are you okay with this shipping? And that's it. So I won't be selling on Mercari anymore either. But even with having Mercari and my Instagram, having like 2 places, it's just so much worse to keep track of things. So it's a lot easier for me to just have everything on one platform and go from there. I do have my destash rules in the description of my Instagram, but just, you know, because I have seen some comments already on like previous videos, I am not doing any like requests or holds or anything like that, because again, it's just more to keep track of. I want to just list the polishes, and it's first come, first serve. You know, whoever comments first claiming that polish, that's theirs, and I can ship it out like hopefully by the next day. Again, once I do start listing my polishes, they are just going to be the reds and oranges and yellows that I've done. So you are going to see all the ones that I've taken out in these videos, but you are also going to see like some other reds, oranges, and yellows that were just in my destash piles already, that were there for like a few months now, but I just hadn't gotten around to listing them. So I want to do it that way. I feel like that will be a little bit easier for me to manage, but you know, we just have to try it out. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Again, I don't have like a set date of when I'm going to start listing everything. I'm hoping it'll be by the end of the month. I would just highly recommend following my Destash page so you don't miss it once I start posting. I won't say to turn on your notifications because once I do start posting, I'm gonna be posting everything like in the same day, like unless somehow Instagram is like, oh, you're spamming or something like that. I want to list everything that I have in that same day to not, you know, spread it out or whatever. So if you have notifications on, that's probably going to be really annoying. So, you know, don't do that. But yeah, I just want to kind of like give a heads up as best as I can. But I also don't want to give a heads up either because like I said, I am just one person with a YouTube channel with 10,000 subscribers and several thousand people who watch this. And I know that anytime I've seen my Instagram Destash page, there's always like so many more followers than I had before. So it's just gonna be a lot and overwhelming. So, you know, please like bear with me. So yeah, hopefully that all makes sense and that it just works out for all of us. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you're looking forward to my greens video. I have not filmed it yet, but I feel like I have a lot of greens and I'm kind of nervous about it. I'm like, is this gonna be my first 2-part video? I don't know. I'm even curious to see if I have more greens than I do reds. So I'm probably gonna do like a poll at some point over on my community tab. But I would love to hear your guesses on if you think I would have more greens than reds because I am notoriously not like a green lover. I have definitely come around to them though, like especially over the last several years. But red is always one of those colors that like I love, but I don't wear. But then green is actually a color I enjoy wearing. I'm wearing it right now. I mean, I guess it's like mainly on my pinky, but I have a little bit of nail art going on. So it's just, you know, one of those weird things. So let me know your thoughts down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.